Steps I Took podcast back again.
This week we have a special guest on who is also into the fitness world. She completed High Rocks today. She completed it in 1 hour and 16 minutes, which is absolutely amazing with her brother. So I'm sure it was great to be able to experience something like that together. But our guest today has literally, we were just talking off camera and concluded that her journey she's turned pain into passion, which is absolutely amazing. And I would say that's something that a lot of us want to do, create something that has supported ourselves, but then been able to support others with that. She's a PCOS specialist, a nutritionist, personal trainer, everything in one. And we want to hear about the steps that she's taken to get to where she is today. So please welcome Georgie Ricks.
Welcome.
Hi guys.
How you doing?
I'm great. Loving being here. Love the setup. Love you too. This is a vibe.
Yeah.
Great. How are you feeling after High Rocks?
Well, I actually feel like I'm a bit of a come down, if I'm honest. You know what I mean? Like that high is just so high. And it was just such a good day, wasn't it, guys?
Yeah.
Also, you know, quite emotional for me, I'd say, because I had my dad on the sidelines, which brought back quite a lot just over the years. I was told I could never run again, got a bit of a metal foot, so then I did. And I think I just doubted myself so much, as we all kind of do. And it was a really great little moment, I'd say, that has just made me actually believe in myself again a bit, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just loved it, and have both my brothers there and did it with my brother. I'd say he probably took majority of it, but let's not tell everyone that. Yeah, it was great.
What was like the funnest part of the High Rocks race for you?
Oh God, fun. I love the row. I could row and row and row. In fact, I wish you could almost swap in the run for the row. What was the funnest bit? Oh, God, guys, that's really hard. Sled push, I didn't have to do much.
I think I'm a psychopath. I think I actually liked the burpee broad jump the best. I love to jump.
Yeah, no, not my thing. I would do boobies. Like,
I feel like for the burpee board jumps, I got cut up. Like, so I was going into a lane, and then someone got there before me, and then I went into the next lane, and then their partner was standing in the way. So there's like a video where all you can see me like is just like cursing under my mouth, like get up.
Yeah, people are quite, oh my God, like, you know, if you were sort of in the inside lane on the runs, they come sort of charging past you, like, move. I'm like, oh God, all right, bloody hell.
Yeah.
I'm trying my hardest.
Yeah, like, that was quite intense.
So we have a tradition on the pod where we ask all our guests this question, and I guess we've spoken about one of them, but what is the highlight of the last 7 days for you outside of High Rocks?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I mean, having my family here, you know, that has just been incredible. I know we're going to go about High Rocks, but actually what a highlight was, weirdly talking about childhood as well, is having my dad on the sidelines, and he filmed the entire thing. And it, like, when I say the entire thing, you can watch me do every single thing. Like the hour 16, we've got it on camera. He did better than the High Rocks professional photos, but it was bringing back such lovely memories of like him on the side when I sort of played lacrosse and netball and all my like childhood sports, and just having his voice there, like that was really special.
Dad filmed the whole thing.
Yeah, it was very special, very cute, and yeah, he was just like so proud. And yeah, that's definitely been the highlight, I'd say. And just then, obviously, we decided to go turbo because our family do like to preach the balanced life. You know, fitness is a huge part, and we are a sport-obsessed family, but we also love a beer and a wine and a Prosecco, you know? So, balance. Yeah, safe to say I think I had like a sip and I was flying. And it was great fun, but we were also just exhausted, you know? So you're trying to like... Yeah, the whole highs, and then you try and have some alcohol, and it was chaos, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Fun chaos.
Nice.
I love that. So with Steps I Took, it's all about understanding the journey that you've been on to get to where you are today. So with that being said, we want to hear about what baby Georgie was like, or young Georgie. Obviously, we know you love fitness and all of that, but how have you become to be this woman that you are today?
I'm definitely the rebel of the family and definitely the black sheep. So I was a bit of a nightmare as a child. And that's why my dad kind of like threw me off to boarding school age 10 because he was like, you're too much to handle. But I would say, you know, so what I do obviously is my business school is PCOS Party, right? And I help women specifically with PCOS, which is a hormone condition, and it's basically the leading cause of infertility. And I got diagnosed when I was sort of 14, 15. So you're quite young there, right? You're on your own. I didn't have much support at all through my journey. And
did you know what it was when you were diagnosed at 14? Did you have a good understanding?
No, and this is the thing with it, right? Like there's so many doctors and misleading information out there where they do not, help you in any way. They normally chuck birth control at you, which, by the way, does not heal at all, guys. It just makes actually things a lot worse. Or they'll tell you to go home and lose weight without any actual real support. It's a real problem that so many women still in 2025, I was diagnosed, 15 years ago, and I'm still seeing my DMs, the same issues, right? And the same awful information that some of these doctors are giving or like not giving. And it's this bad, this lack of support.
What were the symptoms that made you, go out to even see a doctor in the first place?
So my periods completely stopped for like a good year and a half. I started when I was quite young. And then even though, I played lacrosse quite professionally, I was a huge sport woman, as you want to call it. And I was piling on a lot of weight. I always had struggled with my weight. I never had like acne, but I had quite bad like red skin rashes all over my body. And then sometimes a bit of hair growth, which is one of the signs of PCOS where you have high testosterone, basically. So that was, those were my main ones. But again, like it was such a confusing thing because they just like, oh, well, you've got PCOS and like that's kind of it. Like there's no real support or help with it.
Just to double into like the warning signs or the signs that your body shows you. So you said excess hair in places that you wouldn't normally get it, maybe some acne.
Yeah.
Period stopping. What else is there?
Yeah, the periods one is the main thing, like lack of, like either you get regular periods or they can completely stop, or some women, this is where it's complicated, you can still have regular periods but you might not be ovulating, and that is showing that ovulation is when the egg is released. If ovulation isn't happening, that then shows that something is wrong again.
But how as a woman do we know if we're actually ovulating?
Good question. Very good question. Actually, everyone should know this. So there's a couple of physical signs. Obviously, you can get the ovulation sticks and tests and stuff, but the physical signs is it's day like 14, 15 of your cycle if you're having regular bleeds, right? It's 28 days in the cycle. The first couple of signs, sorry, this is probably too much information, but it's going to be in your discharge, and it goes to more of like an egg white, because that's basically your uterus preparing for a sperm to come up and help it get the egg, right? Very clever. Then your body temperature is going to go up a couple of degrees, and then you might feel like a little bit of cramping. Your libido is very high, and your energy is also normally through the roof. So actually, when you're ovulating, like it's like summer for females, right? Like you should be feeling and looking your best self. You have an ovulation glow. A lot of people have. So yeah, they're kind of the physical signs to look out for it. But what's happening is so many women aren't ovulating because ovulation is like the peak sign that you are optimum health as a female, right? And your body, if it doesn't feel like it's healthy or it's safe, or if it's too stressed, or if it's got too much unprocessed foods, or it's inflamed, it will stop ovulation, because it literally won't let you have a baby and bring it into this world, because it doesn't feel like you are fit enough to do that.
That is actually so smart. So if your body is uncomfortable and your body doesn't feel safe and like a clean, healthy environment, it's like, you can't put a baby in here.
Yeah, exactly. Like our bodies are incredibly clever.
Like we're designed in a special way, man. Like our body can, do a lot of things to kind of protect ourselves and stuff.
For sure. And like for a female, right? Like your body, think about it. It is your home. It's your vessel. It's on your side. And I want to keep stressing this to women. Like all the signs and symptoms that we experience, some of them, if they're quite mild, are quite normal, right? Throughout our cycles. But a lot of them, it's your body communicating with you, going, something's wrong here, right? This isn't working for me. I'm unbalanced. You're not feeding me correctly. You're not doing this, that, and the other. Like it has two jobs. One is to keep you alive, and the other one is to help you reproduce. And if it doesn't feel like you can do that efficiently, it's going to stop you from doing it.
Yeah. How did that diagnosis at 15, 16 impact you and your world?
In a big way. Like actually, when I think back and reflect on it, I would say I was, I kind of, those years of my life, like, because I really hated myself. I went through a lot of years of like, with the weight, then I went down sort of bad relationship with myself and with food, went into sort of a binging, restricting cycle, because obviously weight loss back then with no support and you're quite young, you didn't really know what to do. And there's so much crap information out there as well, and misleading this and stupid fad diets and all these stupid things. But yeah, I felt very alone a lot of the time. I always felt like the biggest friend. I was never getting in photos. Like, there's actually quite a substantial part of my life where, like, I'm not in any photos. Or if you, like, when my dad, we lost the family house a couple of years ago, he basically put all of our kids' photos onto like a little, like a hard drive thing.
Stick.
Yeah, and it's like so cute. He is like obsessed with it, and we love the fact that he does do that because now we've got all these memories. But there's literally like 3-4 years where there's basically nothing of me, or if there is I'm looking so miserable. I'm hiding underneath a jumper or a towel, or like I just don't want to be there. So it impacted me in a huge way. My confidence, my self-esteem, and I think that's why I've had to do so much work and still have to. I don't think there's ever an end goal with self-love and, all of that. Like, because I think all of those years I didn't have the support from anyone while going through it.
Yeah. So if you didn't have the support, at what point were you like, oh, I don't have support, I only have me, what can I do to help me now?
Good question. Loving this. It was a good sort of, 8-10 year journey, I'd say, through all of this, because I basically fell in love with nutrition from PCOS, I'd say, because I had to take matters into my own hands, right? Because I was put on birth control for a good 8, 9, 10 years. I tried the implant, I was on metformin, like all the different drugs they would technically give you.
Was this the drugs to basically put a Band-Aid on PCOS rather than actually tackling the issue itself?
Exactly. So majority of doctors out there, right, as a doctor, a GP, they are taught to prescribe a pill for a certain condition, okay? They don't have knowledge on nutrition, whereas PCOS is a holistic condition, right? It's a metabolic disorder. Like, when you take birth control, what that essentially does is it shuts down your natural hormones. It puts them to sleep, okay? So that's why, yes, when women go on it, when you've got acne or the hair growth, because it's lowering testosterone and sort of suppressing it all, those symptoms can go away. But then when you come off birth control, they come back with a vengeance because you haven't dealt with the root cause, right?
And of course, if you want children, you're going to have to come off it at some point. So you're going to have to deal with that root cause at some point.
Exactly. And I really, truly, truly believe that birth control is hands down one of the biggest contributors to why we have such huge infertility rates now, why IVF is so high and why women are struggling. Because if you've been on birth control, like it took me when I came off about 2 years to get my natural cycles back.
Wow.
And it does. I think about it. You've been on one pill every day for 10 years of your life. Like, your hormones are shot. They don't know what's going on. So of course it takes time. This is what I do with my clients is, yes, I help women with PCOS, but I actually help a lot more now who are realizing, because we have education and podcasts, people talking about it, they're understanding that birth control, they don't want to be on it, right? Because it literally affects every part of you as a female. It affects, like, the studies coming out now. I've had clients who actually then don't fancy their partner because it changes your smell and it changes, like, who you're attracted to. Like, it's wild.
Wow.
Yeah, it really is.
So with PCOS, just what does it actually stand for? Is that an abbreviation?
Polycystic ovarian syndrome. Polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Okay, yeah.
But what's funny is it actually should be called polyfollicular, because this is where it even starts in the name of how misleading it is, right? And I hate to say it, but it was a man that gave it the name, which is wild that it's a female condition. But it's very misleading because a lot of doctors will tell you that on your ovaries, they're like cysts. When you have ultrasound, and it's basically little sort of black dots that coat your ovaries. They are not cysts. They are follicles where they're basically immature eggs that have not been released because you're not ovulating, right? So then they coat the ovary. So they're not harmful. They're not like dangerous cysts, whereas women can get cysts that can grow and can be quite dangerous, right? So everyone out there, please, it's not your fault. It's whoever gave it the wrong name, which is ridiculous. But it's just like the visual representation of the condition because you are not ovulating. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, it's a very...
Obviously, you're extremely knowledgeable on the subject, but going back to when you weren't so knowledgeable,
yeah,
what spiked your interest in actually helping yourself? Because there's hundreds of thousands of women going through this who aren't taken that step to do what you've done?
Yeah, I think I'm not a quitter. I'm a born sort of like a resilient female, I'd say, where I think I was just fed up, you know, with like being told every time I went to the GP to just go home and lose weight or thrown another pill at me. And like, yes, I was on birth control for a long period of time. So I think I was so scared to come off it. But then I basically just threw myself into nutrition. I went to uni, I studied biochemistry and nutrition, and I did a load of other qualifications around it. And then I worked in the fitness world in the UK for a little bit, and then I moved to Dubai. And that also was it kind of threw me off balance a bit with my journey, because you hit Dubai, right? And then suddenly it's like, you've got all the pressure to be in a bikini every weekend. And I suddenly was like comparing myself the whole time to all of these females. So I kind of went down a bit of a darker route where I was, you know, really starving myself and restricting myself through the week, because I'd always been the bigger person. And I've always struggled with my weight, full stop. And everyone with PCOS unfortunately do. So then again, being here, you're on all the different meds, going back and forth. Like, it really was an up-down journey, even though I was understanding the nutrition and trying to implement that along the side. It's not just a overnight thing, you know? You really have to sort of like, there's a lot to it.
And was there as much sort of support, you know, like you said, you went to your GP and you got, you know...
No, even worse here.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Even worse here. Like, it's terrifying here. Like, a lot of the doctors, they're on commission, you know, they really don't care about your well-being. There's certain pills that they have to prescribe that they get more money for their buck, and like it's pretty wild, like what I experienced. I mean, I could be here for days talking to you about certain like doctors, you know, appointments that I had and what I kind of saw. But after all of that, I was working in the corporate world for a little bit, and I was having like numerous panic attacks in the office, and I was just in a really bad place. And then I just thought enough's enough, and I actually went to Bali, and everyone's like, "You went and found yourself." That's the classic line. But I'm not going to lie, that place saved me in many ways, and I basically went for a year out from Dubai and just spent the year like just really focusing on me, focusing on my nutrition. Came off every form of medication, just had a full reset. And then basically over that time, I just managed to, get myself back to a really good, healthy place, like understand how to reverse PCOS, balance your blood sugars, reduce inflammation, all of these sort of, I kind of like had all the pieces of the puzzle, and then they all kind of came together. Do you know what I mean? In Bali, because I was just like, I could focus.
You had the headspace to be able to bring all the pieces that you've been learning across the years together.
Literally.
To then actually implement for a long period of time. And then that's what helped reverse the PCOS.
And I think like in Dubai, as much as we love it here, like it is a rat race, you know, and it is, you know, I was very young when I moved here, I think, and I wasn't mentally I didn't love myself then either because of PCOS and everything. And I think I really needed that time out massively to work on that side of thing as well, because like my health, even though I love nutrition, all I do is read books and studies and listen to podcasts and whatnot when I was working, you know, in the office. I didn't implement it. You know, I struggled to implement it because my one sort of thing in my head when I got here, because I felt so much pressure, was to just try and be skinny. So I actually did it probably very unhealthily. I did. So it's been a whole bloody journey.
It's interesting just to touch quickly on the point of actually implementing, because I think that's a place where lots of people struggle. We all know what the right thing to do is. I know I shouldn't have chocolate syrup in my matcha, but I still do it. Do you know what I mean? I know I shouldn't be having that sugar spike, but I still do it. So what's that switch for you, knowing what is right to do for years and then actually doing it? And maybe you have a lot of clients that are kind of on that cusp as well.
Yeah, I think it really is like really working on your relationship with food, on, you know, how, like, it's the mindset, and it's, just like like the mindset I think is the biggest thing, and like trying to break a lot of the diet myths that you've been taught when you were younger, you know, looking at food that is not the enemy and just getting that balance. I think the balance is what I preach, right? And once you start to understand that, like you can have your chocolate syrup in your matcha, that's absolutely fine, but we don't need to have it every day 3 times a day. You know, it's aiming for like the 80-20 balance that I consistently try and say, like 80% of the time, let's try and get good nutritious foods that we know are going to support our body, our hormones, going to make us feel good. 20% is that pizza, it's that Prosecco, it's the fun, it's the celebrations, it's the enjoyment. And I think for so long, I was stuck, and I know loads of people are still, numerous clients, I see it every day, this restricting, binging relationship where, you know, I would do it. I look back in my first years in Dubai, I would literally for the first 5 days of the week, right, I'd write a list of just like chicken breast, salmon, you know, cucumber, nuts and whatever, and eggs. And that's all I'd eat for 5 days. And I'd probably do 2 crazy HIIT classes, fasted in the morning, which we know is not good for hormones as well. I know that was contributing as well to PCOS, because back then I didn't really know. I knew the nutrition side of things, but I didn't understand stress and all these other things that can kind of go into it. And then on the weekends, you know, because you've restricted so much, you go absolutely bananas.
Get to that brunch and then you're just like...
Literally go nuts. First on the alcohol, and then, I mean, 7 deliveries later, you know, you get back in, you've ordered like however many McDonald's. Like, it was just mad. And then you start the process again on Monday, right? And then you feel guilty and you feel bad and you're hating yourself and all of this. And that I've worked on so much. And I think it's all of this stuff. I don't think you ever reach a point where you go, right, I'm healed, I'm done, off we go. You know, it's a consistent thing, but I'm in such a better place now than I was. And it's every day you have to put in the work. You know, you have to like be kind to yourself, and affirmations and all these all this sort of stuff. And I think weirdly, High Rocks has been one of those like reminders of like how important that is, because I never thought I was a runner. I'm not a runner, but I told myself every day, like, I'm a runner. And then I managed to do it.
Was there a point, you know, you talked about the 7 deliveries and stuff. Was there a point of rock bottom when you were like, this is it, I need to make a change? Like, what? And was there something that created that moment for you, or?
Yeah, I think. Well, so when I moved here, it wasn't. I bet you know when you move to Dubai and you're like, I need a job. So I loved it. I worked basically for a company called Terrapin that was a big events corporate company, but I worked with like 50 Brits under 30. We were like a family, and we just had so much fun, and that kind of what kept you there, right? The work wasn't particularly great. It was quite boring, stressful actually, but in terms of like, you know, working like aviation and finance, like that's not really, doesn't make me tick. But because you're like with your best friends every day, it's like super fun. But that's when I'd say, you know, my health took a back step, because all I was interested in was making friends, going out and boozing, having a good time. And yeah, I remember just being at office, and like the stress was like insane sometimes. You know, events in itself is stressful. And I was on all these different meds, and I basically had like a couple of panic attacks. I just couldn't deal with it. I think my body was, and I had a really awful toxic breakup, which we know also adds a lot of stress, fight or flight system. And that was basically it. And then I was just like, I just can't do this anymore. I was so exhausted. Also, what they don't tell you is I was on a drug called metformin that they give pretty much anyone, either if you've got PCOS or if you've got diabetes type 2. It's basically meant to help your insulin. What they don't tell you is it depletes your body of B12. B12 is your like energy mineral molecule. Like, it's so important to basically keep us alive.
Because people say check your B12, but they don't say why.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's one of those like it's like with cortisol. There's truth and science behind all of it, but I think some people get very carried away, you know, with actually how it works. But yeah, B12 is an essential mineral. We need it in our bodies. But yeah, I basically was like having those panic attacks, falling asleep. Like I was just struggling. And I went to the doctors, and he did my B12. And I remember being at a meeting, and I came back, and my phone had like 8 missed calls. And I was like, what the hell? And he rings me, and he goes, you should be dead. I was like, what? It was like, your B12 is 56. Like, I've never seen anything so low.
What should it be?
Like 400 plus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then what do? I'm pulled in every day having an injection in my ass for a month, and then I had to keep going for a year. But they still keep you on metformin. It's almost like contradicting it a little bit. So as soon as I stopped the metformin, when I did my own research and figured it all out, my B12 went straight back, and I'm fine.
So whilst you were like going through all of this, what was your relationship like with your family, and did you confide in them, or did you kind of keep it to yourself, or?
If I'm honest, no. And look, I love my family so much. We've got a brother in the room. I was, you know, it's a very male-dominated family. I have 3 brothers who I love to death, but growing up, like, you know, they were a little 3, and I was kind of the one, the bully and whatever else, and it was all lighthearted and jokey, but I never really had anyone to go to and speak about this. My mum, she's wonderful and has been such a wonderful mum, but she's not the most nurturing, emotional mum, you know, and she couldn't really relate with a lot of the stuff that I was going through. And she tried her best, bless her. But yeah, none of my friends really had it. So yeah, like I didn't ever, my dad, love him again, but very emotionally unavailable man. And he, you know, he's a classic dad. He doesn't like talking about, you know, the word period makes him like shiver. And like, he like thought, like, I think I asked him to buy me a tampon once and he literally like couldn't bear it, you know? It's just quite, it's a generational thing, I think, as well. But yeah, I think I definitely feel like I've become this hyper independent, whatever you want to call, probably too much in my masculine, as people keep telling me, and I'm trying to tap into my whole feminine vibe. But it's because I've kind of had to be. Like, my whole life I've been quite emotionally on my own, and I've not really, you know, I've had to. I haven't been able to rely on anyone. So yeah, I find it very difficult to ask for help. Yeah. And I also think that comes from being in a family where it's, you know, we're like showing weakness isn't exactly great, and it's like we're fine all the time, and we're thrown onto pitches here and there, and if you're knocked down, you get back up again. But that can have a bit of a, well, it has a bit of an effect, a knock-on effect, you know.
But then it's interesting because now you've built a business which is like the epitome of femininity.
Yeah. And you know
And
what? And
helping
I'm
so
the
many.
biggest empath in the world, right? Like, all I want to do is help. And like, it literally feeds my soul. Like, when I help my clients and I see them transform, and like somebody that, you know, especially if I help them make a family, right? Like, it just hits me so deep. And I think like maybe because I didn't get the help that I needed, I want to help so much to other people.
Yeah,
because
you've created that space for them now, haven't you?
Yeah, but it also almost like fills me. It fills my cup.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, like I wouldn't be anywhere without my clients, my business, and like I get so excited. I'm like so buzzed, even though being an entrepreneur is just.
That's a whole nother
That's
story,
a whole
which
other
we will
podcast.
tap
We will
into a
tap
little
that.
bit. But going back to like, you've come back, you had a bit of a breakdown. You've realised my body is giving up. I need to have a break. You've gone to Bali for a year. Then you've decided to come back to Dubai.
Yeah.
Was it at that point you decided, oh, I'm going to start It's a PCOS Party?
Well, good story. So it was COVID. COVID was like my favorite thing. So I was on the island and then COVID happened. My mum got COVID. It was classic, like the apocalypse, wasn't it? I thought she was going to die. I was like, get me out. So I was on the last flight out. We had the best COVID because it was all of us locked down in our family house, and we just had so much fun. But I was so focused because I had spent that year learning from coaches, learning how to build an online business, digital nomad. Like, I had a lot of mentors who like really put it together and was like, right, this is your passion. This is like your journey, whatever. This is what you should do. So I literally started it in COVID. Because I had time. I remember just creating an Instagram account and walking around my garden like 100 times, like doing the story, you know, the first story coming on, because I still remember like that feeling of like, just even today I still struggle talking to the stories and deleting them a million times. But from there, basically, I just started building, and I just started, you know, growing following, and then I moved back to Dubai and I entered a competition. I entered this competition with a company called Creative Zone, and it was called She Leads. And I remember just Googling like help for startups for women, because I was obviously struggling. Like, you're not born an entrepreneur, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I know exactly
you
what you mean.
literally don't have a clue. I'm like, right, now I have to be in marketing, social media, finance, everything. Anyway, it was basically, this accelerator program. And they have 400 women enter it. I got down to the top 20, and then I won it. And that was wild. And that, I guess, gave me the boost again to believe in myself. And they didn't give like investment as such, but they sponsored me for my first visa set up and all my business set up. And like, I had some mentors and some help over the years. So that was really nice. And then it just kind of grew from there, really, you know, just getting more clients, more testimonials, more results, and it was more referrals, more partnerships, brands, you know, and then, you just kind of, and then now that's been what, like 3-4 years, which is wild. But I did have a bit of a spanner thrown into the works in the middle of it, throw in a very toxic, awful ending of a relationship, which kind of sent me on a very personal journey where I then kind of, when I'd worked so hard to get my cycles back and do all of my health, unfortunately, when that happens, you know, you don't even realize what happens to your body, right? Full fight or flight, lost a lot of weight, went into overtraining because it was almost my therapy, because I was dealing with the heartbreak and everything. And that definitely, again, sort of contributed to the nervous system and cortisol. And I think a lot of the PCOS, trauma, all of this kind of connects a little bit. So a lot of my life, and then we throw in egg freezing. So there's been a lot of sort of like, you know, ups and downs that life throws at us. But I've been very raw and real with my audience, I say, through the whole thing, because at the end of the day, yes, I'm a coach, I'm an expert, whatever you want to call me, and I can help and everyone else, but I'm still one of everyone. You know, I'm still one of you.
You're still a human.
I'm still a human, yeah, and I still have my stuff going on, unfortunately, and I still have my issues. But in a way, I think maybe that's helped as well for me, for how well I've done, and because I think clients can see that I'm just a real normal person.
I think it's helped hugely because I've been watching your journey for quite a few years now. And even when you've just said, oh, like I struggle to talk on camera, so I was like thinking, huh?
No, I really do.
If you follow her, she chats to the camera every day. So to hear that you say like, oh, I find it uncomfortable, I'm actually shocked and surprised.
Really?
Yeah,
oh my God, babe. I
seem...
sometimes do it like 4 or 5 takes and I'm like throwing my phone and then, oh God, I go through
so you're
real
seeing like
moments.
the fifth take, basically.
Yeah, and it just seems so fluent and just natural and also very personable. You're just talking like any of us would. So definitely when you're struggling with something as like close and personal for a woman as PCOS and you're so confused, to see someone like yourself who's just being raw and yourself and you're like, you know what, fuck it girls, I had a Prosecco today, or I'm having a low day today, I can't get out from my bed, or I'm going for a walk, I managed to get up, and all of these things, it helps a woman to instantly feel a bit more comfortable, like, oh, she feels how I feel, she's showing us, and she has worked for years to have the knowledge of how to actually help me. Yeah, I want to go with her, she's going to help me.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, right? And I think that, look, the coaching world, I hate to say this, guys, but like it's saturated now, and it's not saturated with a lot of great coaches, right? I've had many girls come to me being like, what's the line where it's like, if you buy cheap,
you get what you pay. Like,
well, you buy cheap, you buy twice, like buy cheap, you buy twice, or something, right?
Yeah.
But it's true, right? There's a lot of coaches out there now who are not qualified or are just copying and pasting generic plans, and they're undercutting, you know, all of us. And then it's kind of making, I don't know, like us, like almost putting down what we do, or like the good ones out there. But yeah, I pride myself massively in being a very hands-on coach. I think for females, and again, maybe this is my detriment, I've had a lot of coaches out there who are like business coaches who are like, oh, you know, like you shouldn't be meeting up with your clients. You should be like being much more tighter with your boundaries and all of this sort of stuff. And I actually just thought, that's not me. No, like these women need me. You know, I want to make an effort and build these relationships. And I think that's another thing why I get these results and I help them, because I am like literally there holding their hand. And yes, fine, sometimes it can be very emotionally draining for me because I get quite invested, but I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest, because it's just the most rewarding thing. I don't feel like I work. I feel like I'm just living my passion and like helping.
What's the process? So say a lady reaches out to you on Instagram and is like, hey, I've been diagnosed with PCOS. How can you help me? I want to have children one day. I'm scared. What's the journey? What's the walkthrough? Yeah.
So I have just two real options. So I have one-to-one coaching. I obviously, first of all, will always get back to every DM, like always, you know, yes, everyone's got these automations and things set up, but like I'm a big voice noter. I will literally jump on and like make sure that everyone feels heard and seen, because I didn't feel that when I was younger, right? I will always set up a discovery call, because it's also very important for the coach and client to have, like, to make sure that we're on the same page and that we're going to work well together. You know, I have in the past not turned down a client, but, you know, if we don't gel well or there's something that, you know, potentially just doesn't fit, I'm not going to take their money or make, you know, it's just, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And that is normal. But I think a lot of coaches out there will never admit that, or they'll just take people because they want the cash, right? And then I think that's where you then get a bad name. But yeah, we would always hop on a discovery call, obviously ask their, you know, their symptoms, their struggles, their goals, what they're looking for. And then I have one-to-one coaching. I have like different, because it's not one size fits all, right? This is not your man coming to a fitness coach saying, hi, I want to become a bodybuilder, right? That can be quite simple and not simple, sorry, but quite same, right? For men. For women, we're completely different. We are not small men, and we have all different hormones and issues going on. So I have to really deep dive into them specifically, and then I kind of build a personalized program around them. But there's a similar structure, I'd say, and in terms of what you get education wise, you get the full sort of protocol. It's nutrition, sure, but it's also exercise, sleep, recovery, supplements, stress. I give them the full education, so by the time that they leave me, they are confident, and I feel that they're confident to go into the world and be able to have the toolbox to just continue life with everything, and feel good and really thrive.
That's good that you said toolbox, because I guess that's also another thing in terms of what you mentioned earlier about how your body can kind of pick up if you're not fully right, or you're not fully healthy, and it can prevent you from, say, conceiving or giving birth and stuff. What day-to-day sort of top level things can women that are listening to this podcast do to kind of ensure that their body's in the best condition for, I know you mentioned sleep and stuff like that. What sort of things could you recommend?
Yeah, I can give you a few little nuggets. Okay, the first one really is about balancing your blood sugars. Now, I feel that it's been, a buzzword for a while, and people don't really know what that means. But very simply, insulin is sort of your main big mama of your hormones. She kind of influences all the others. So when insulin is elevated, it can spike testosterone. She can have an impact on cortisol, and she also communicates with the ovaries as well. Again, the ovulation side of things, right? So a lot of people are stuck on what I call this blood sugar roller coaster, where they're reaching for the carbs and the sugars throughout the day, but they're not pairing it or supporting their body with enough protein and fats. So you're literally going on this roller coaster where you're having these peaks and troughs, these crashes, also throwing a bit of caffeine there as well that contributes, because a lot of people obviously on the coffees. But it's basically going to promote insulin resistance. You might then lead to being pre-diabetic, diabetes type 2. Okay, but that is going to have a real impact on your PCOS. 80% of women have insulin resistance, and it's insulin resistant PCOS, they call it.
So to balance your blood sugars, you have to make sure you're pairing anything
carby with proteins and fats. Every meal should be built around the protein source, and we should be starting our mornings with 25 to 30 grams of protein within your first hour of waking. That is going to set you up for a stunning day. Literally, it's going to keep your insulin nice and low. It's going to keep you full. It's going to obviously fuel you for the day. So starting, very simply, rather than going for just toast and jam or a croissant or granola or whatever, pair it with the protein, okay? So let's have some sourdough toast with some smoked salmon and egg, or just egg, cool. Have a vegan protein shake, right? Load it with some blueberries and some nice almond milk and some ice, cool. Nice balance there. Avocado and eggs, great. Just make sure you're pairing it, and it's not just never have your carbs on its own. Always dress your carbs. That's kind of the rule that I would stand by.
Unless it's the day of high rocks.
Unless it's high rocks, well, I went out. I think my anxiety was so bad, I just had 7 biscuits. But the night before, yes, we carb loaded, and it was great.
Yeah. I had so much pizza the night before.
Oh my God, same. Actually, it's weird. I had a meeting this morning with a proper high rocks coach that we're going to partner together. I'm going to do the nutrition side of things. And we said, actually, I wouldn't have got 116 if I didn't know my shit, right? I didn't actually prepare for performance-based nutrition. It's so important in those moments to actually fuel your body correctly. God, I remember when I would and there were girls still out there who were fasting on a black coffee and going to perform. Ladies, please, if I ask one thing, no.
Uh-oh.
Is that what you did?
Well, not for high rocks. I ate before high rocks.
But in the morning?
Every morning I usually I wake up and I'm in the gym by 6:45, and I probably haven't consumed anything, not even water.
Okay. Please just try and get something in you. I cannot explain. First of all, you want to have a bit of fuel because you're going to perform better. You're going to live better.
Do you know what it is? I think it's a bit of toxicity in my mind, because it's if you train when you're fasted, you're going to target the fat that is stored.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, so that's the problem.
Then your performance is not going to be is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's bullshit at the end of the day. If your calories fit your calories in the day, it's not going to matter.
So as someone, I don't want to call myself lazy. I'm not lazy, but in the morning, I don't particularly want to wake up that much earlier to make sure I eat in enough time before going to the gym, because I'm going to be in the gym by 6:45.
Get that. And I'm the same. I don't expect
just a protein shake on my way. Is that sufficient?
So I do not expect you at all to just have a full English before you go and train. No way. But in the mornings, my first thing would be like a decaf coffee, because caffeine will also contribute to cortisol. Cortisol, we've got to keep under wraps, again, for ovulation and stuff as well, okay? So if you are out there, ladies, and you're struggling with not getting pregnant, or you might not think you're ovulating, or irregular periods, that stress could be a real thing. And I've seen this so much in Dubai. It's wild, right?
And just to confirm, your cortisol level, the higher it is, the more stressed you are?
Pretty much, yes. But it's not just down to stress from work, right? There's lots of stresses in our life now, especially for females, right? Like there's just so much overtraining, toxic relationships. Like, we're surrounded in Dubai. I mean, it's just chaos, isn't it? We're in a rat race the entire time. It just doesn't stop, right? So you're always like, fight or flight, like, can't breathe.
And it's even like what you said at the beginning, the comparison element, you know, when you said you first came here and you're comparing yourself to other girls and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Like, it's is not really a normal life in Dubai, let's be honest. You know, it's not like you're living out in the sticks and you can like wake up and like get your eggs and your chicken and have a nice slow morning. Like, as you said, you're straight out and up at 6, you know, in the gym, and we're like here to like just be the best versions of ourselves, which is incredible, but our hormones lose out along the way, right? And it's just finding that balance, and like where you can make better decisions to support your hormones, great. So like, don't start with caffeine first thing, okay? Because when you wake up, your cortisol is at, let's say, 100%. The aim of the game is to get it to 0 by the time you sleep, so you have a nice sleep and you rest and chill. If you have caffeine straight away, and then you're immediately like got screaming kids, and then you're dropping them at school, your husband's screaming at you, you're jumping into a class, and all you've had is caffeine and all the stress, and you're looking at your emails and there's your boss going crazy, like, that's hectic, right? Your cortisol can't come down.
How to calm down in a situation like that, yeah.
You know, so little things to help. So like, I will start my morning, if I'm training, I'll have like decaf coffee, I'll put collagen peptides in, love collagen, and also it's got protein in it. Or I'd put a scoop of my like vegan vanilla protein. It's actually banging in a coffee, by the way. And then a bit of coconut or almond milk. And then I'm weird, like, you don't have to have breakfast foods for breakfast, by the way. I keep like slices of chicken breast in my fridge, and I'll just have a few of them munching as I walk to the gym. Obviously, hard-boiled eggs are great just to have in the fridge. I know people get the egg ick, fine, but like, just have the egg. It's not a bend in the world. Or you can make like, you know, some little protein muffins and just keep them in the fridge. Like, there's loads out there. It's very simple. But if you can just get, even if it is literally like 100 calories and 10 grams, if that's all you can stomach, it's going to be better than fasting. I'm telling you that. It really is.
Okay, I'm going to try tomorrow, guys.
So that's the first nugget in terms of how you start your day.
Yeah.
What other nuggets can women take on board to kind of ensure that their body is, you know, as best as it can be? Yeah,
well, movement, of course, right? Like, movement is essential. I always say, think of our bodies that they're like dogs. They need to be walked, and it's really important. We function better when we are moving and walking. But again, getting the balance of that is really important too, right? We don't want to be doing crazy hits first thing in the morning and spins and everything else. Like, strength training, absolutely, okay? We want to be putting muscle on our body. More muscle we have on our body, the leaner, the more snatched we're going to look. We're going to be able to burn more calories throughout the day, and we're just going to be a better human, right? We want to be keeping that muscle for then later in life, that we can pick up our kids and we can still go on hikes and we can still do all this fun stuff.
So like strength training, resistance training.
Yeah, exactly. Strength as much as we can. Incorporating things like yoga, Pilates, again, great for the nervous system, great for the stress. Like, think of those as like bonuses. And then, you know, walking. Walking is like your stress-free, free, and it's also like your fast track of a weight loss tool if you're on a weight loss journey. You know, just going outside and walking, call your friend, grab your friend, like, rather than going to just sit and have a coffee, walk and have coffee.
Yeah.
You know, it's just little things that you can change, and like, it really does help.
There is that rule of 10,000 steps a day. Is that something you go by, or do you think more or less, or?
I really do believe that the more steps you can get in, just the more it's going to benefit you. I do. Like, I don't think it's a set rule, and I appreciate some people can't hit 10,000 steps, right? But that kind of came, I don't actually know where the whole 10,000 thing came from, but roughly 10 to 12,000 steps is about 400 to 500 calories burn. So what they kind of say is, if you are on a weight loss journey and you don't really want to change your calories as much, and you're just getting a lot of steps in, you're going to see the weight loss go, or the weight come off. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think that was where it kind of came from. But still, we should be stepping anyway.
And it's interesting you say, like, oh, I appreciate some people can't get 10,000, because if I think about my days, and we all know we're all busy. But actually, sometimes I reflect on my day and I'll check my watch, which I'm actually not wearing, but I'll have like 3,000 steps and I'm like, oh, I could go for a walk for an hour, or I could waste time and do something else. And then it's like, oh, the hour's gone and I should have gone for the walk. So actually, like, after an hour's walk, you can get a good 7,000 steps in. That's a slow-paced walk as well.
Yeah. And also, like, I really want to stress this as well. Like, I know that, like, a long walk can feel so daunting sometimes, right? You're just like, oh, I don't want to go, it's an hour. Break it up in the day. Like, I have all these little nuggets now where, like, you know, if I go to the mall, I actually park my car in the Kill Mall sometimes because I live just across the road. I have a parking space, but I do it in the mall because then I can walk and get my steps.
Well, this is it. I was going to say, because it's like, it's not like the UK. So I was recently in Thailand, and
nice.
I went to the fitness street there, and literally I was walking every day. You know, walking to the gym, walking back to the hotel, etc. And when I was living in London, you know, you're walking to the bus stop or walking to the tube station. Whereas in Dubai, it's like car, apartment, car, wherever you're going.
We don't even walk to the shop.
Yeah, so
it's the shop.
I know, isn't it?
Yeah,
we're so lazy here because everything is like on tap whenever we want it. But the more that you can help yourself, you know, like get the stairs, not the elevator. You know, when you have your lunch, please don't sit at your desk. Like go and do a lap around the block.
Yeah.
If you can make almost like scheduling and build it, it's all about the habits, right? So making sure that you build these habits, and let's say you're walking 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 20 minutes here. It adds up to your hour in the day.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it.
Yeah. I'm on 8,311 steps.
That's very good this morning.
Well, that's because I went for a run this morning.
Yeah, fine.
I don't have a watch on, so we can't compare today.
Yeah, no, actually, mine was left charging, which is really annoying. But
yeah, another time.
Those are some good nuggets that women can, you know, and I guess it's men as well can take, you know, those on board as well, I think.
Yeah, God, yeah, for sure. Look, I mean, you know, the fundamentals of nutrition is, you know, protein, focus on that as your main macro. Carbs, we need them, never cut them out. They are good for energy and for fuel. There is a reason why there are 3 macronutrients, right? We need them all. Fats also, let's not forget fats. Like, remember a couple of years ago or 10 years ago when it was like, fats were demonized, do you remember? And it was all the fat-free diets and fat-free yogurts. Like, that again is when we've had a huge spike in women's hormone issues and infertility, because fats actually fuel our hormones. We need healthy fats in our diet. So another nugget, if you like avocado, I always say half an avocado a day keeps your hormones at bay. And it really does. Like, avocado is a bit of a superfood. It literally is a fuel for our hormones. And there's not that many, you know, good sources of healthy fats, unfortunately. But if you can get an avo in,
what about
stunning.
Greek yogurt? Because I always go for the 0% fat Greek yogurt. Is that wrong with me?
Yes, if you're getting fats in other places in your diet, then fine. I appreciate why people love the Greek yogurt and 0% fat, because it is very high in protein and it's just a good all-round, you know, yummy food.
But is it bad to have the one that's full fat?
No, it's not bad to have either of them. You know, it's just really what your specific goals are, I would say.
Okay.
But
and where the fats are coming from.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
To overconsume.
Yeah,
not a whole
that's it.
avocado and then the full fat Greek yogurt.
Yeah. Because again, right, unfortunately with fats, right, it's 9 calories per gram, whereas carbs and protein are 4 calories. So we want to get fats in our diet, very important, but they're quite easy to overindulge in. You know, like nuts and seeds and stuff. I mean, how many times you just like, you know, shove a load of nuts in, that's probably 600-700 calories gone.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on sugar-free items? You know, like Coke Zero or...
So actually, I have no issue with like full fat Coke, maybe not, because that is just ridiculous. Like why? Like I just think why are you drinking your calories? Like in that respect, I think if you're on a fat loss journey, a sugar-free drink can be really beneficial. It can help. You know, calories are calories at the end of the day. But it's all moderation, you know, with all of this sort of stuff. And I think we want to, of course, be aiming for as much whole foods, single ingredient foods as we can in our diet, right? We want to know where it's coming from. We want to understand it. But we can't do that anymore. We live in a world where we want things that are convenient, are quick. Our shelves, unfortunately, are packed now. It is so difficult to actually not buy anything that doesn't have some form of seed oil or chemical or toxin in it. And like the science and the studies, like there isn't actually any, you know, that are saying that it's linking to cancer or whatever else. It's very minimal of that. But at the same time, you just got to use your common sense. Like putting all those chemicals in your body, it's probably not going to do wonders for you, is it? It's just not. Like, if you don't know what it's called, like, and, you know, so I would just say, just moderate it. You don't need to have 3 a day, but if you want to have 1 every week or so, sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So before we wrap up, I want to touch on the business side of things, because for you, you're clearly a very driven woman. You've gone through a lot of ups and downs and have had an emotional journey alongside trying to understand your own body and understand what PCOS is and how to help it. And then obviously the emotional side, where you haven't felt like you've been supported, and now you've built an amazing business where you're really supporting and changing lives and creating lives effectively, actually, by reversing the PCOS, allowing women to reproduce, which is amazing. But then there's the other side of things, which is being a business owner, and being a business owner in Dubai, and also managing humans who are in an emotional state. How have you found that journey alongside having your own journey, because they've been going simultaneously?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, it's been a roller coaster. That's what I would say. I'd say I also have ADHD, which is another thing just to throw into the mix, that that has made it very challenging for me, I would say. Like the past, especially the last year, I have really struggled, I'd think, with, you know, being on my own every day. I have a team, but they're not here, right? They're all sort of all over the place. And I am a big team player. I really miss being with people in an office and bouncing ideas off each other. And I've struggled to make decisions. So that is quite tough, you know, and I am having to make decisions the whole time. And it's hard just doing it on your own. But I think when I first started, with anything, right? If you're going to start a business, guys, you cannot go in half-heartedly. You are all in, right? And I think it takes a certain type of person. You've got to be resilient, and you've got to really love what you do. And I'm so lucky that I have the passion from everything I've gone through to be able to do this, because you wouldn't be able to do it if you didn't, I don't think, you know, if you didn't have that love. In my first couple of years doing it, like, you know, you're putting blood, sweat and tears in there. It's 24 hours round the clock. And I definitely think my health probably took a bit of a back step in it, because I was overthinking everything. I wanted to do a million things all the time. Like, my brain is very creative, and it's just pop, pop, pop. Like, I've got 100 million tabs open, not only in my brain, but on my laptop as well. So it is an up-down journey. But what I have definitely implemented in the last year is being a lot kinder to myself, taking breaks, you know, listening to my body, like, and actually being able to go, right, do you know what? I don't want to post on socials this week. I'm going to have a timeout, you know, and that's important, because I did burn out, like, February, like maybe a year and a half ago, and I just had to fly back to the UK. I turned my phone off for like 2 weeks, and I was just like so exhausted. And burnout is a big thing that women are going through here as well, because we're all trying to be the best, do the best, have a family, have a great relationship. We just want to be all forms of a female, you know, and we can't do it. We can, but we can't, you know, we need to.
Something has to give.
Something has to give, exactly.
When you got to the stage of burnout, what did that actually look and feel like for you?
Oh God, I mean, it was a big build up, and I could just almost feel myself every day. I just didn't want to be on my phone. I didn't want to see anyone. I was just hating everything. I was hating myself again, going into a bit of a rut with that. I didn't really want to get out of bed. And I'm a person that wakes up at 5 and I'm springing out that door. So when I saw that, and when I could recognize that with myself, and like, also I'm a very sociable person, didn't want to see anyone. I wasn't replying to any of my friends for like weeks. That was when I sort of was like, okay, enough's enough, crying all the time, and just like, yeah. So, you know, recognize those signs. Honestly, guys, please do. And, you know, anxiety, all of that, it does come with it. Listen to the signs, you know, if you're sleeping funny, it's a big one. If you're waking up at sort of 3 a.m. wide awake, your brain's rushing, or you're struggling to fall asleep, like, they're big signs that your cortisol is high. If you're getting funny aches and pains, sounds silly. I had like a really bad shoulder pain for ages. Apparently that's linked to it. You know, take some time out, do some breath work, listen to some meditation. Like, they all do help slowly.
Go for those walks.
Those bloody walks and calm down. If you are feeling stressed, control the controllables, right? So stop doing the crazy exercise if you're doing it, because that you can control. If you've got stress in other life, like, tone that bit down a bit. You know, you have to kind of manage it all, and like, when one's up, bring the other down.
The hard part is, though, when you're burning out, especially in a kind of the industry that you're in, where you're there to support people, you have people relying on you
all the time.
So at what point are you like, oh, I need to take a pause? And what do you say to your clients when you need to do that?
I've actually been so lucky in everything. Like, all my clients have literally become my friends. Like, I'm very blessed with that. And I think, again, going back to like me being so raw and honest with my journey, like, I've never ever really had to ever be like take a full break. And if I have taken, when I did hit burnout, I just stopped taking clients, right? And I kind of timed it in a way that like I think I had 2 clients that have been with me for so long that they were very understanding, and they were like, take the time that you need, right? So I think like I've set the boundaries in a sense that I never tell my clients, oh, don't mess with me on the weekend, but I think they just get it. They know, you know, they need to, and I'm there if they need me, of course. But I've actually just been really quite lucky that I haven't ever had like a super, super demanding, like needs to speak to me all day, every day. But I think that's also because I do support them so well in the times that we do have together. And yes, we WhatsApp chat and everything.
And also potentially maybe because you've been through what they're going through and they know that you've been through that, and you know they've probably got people in their world who are probably like trying to get hold of them every minute of every day, and it's not helping them. So they're probably like, well, I don't like that, so I'm not going to be that person that does that to you as well, you know?
I completely agree. And I think, you know, a lot of people, as we've sort of got older as well, like we all know sometimes when it's like, I don't want to talk to humans today. I just need my day. You know, we all need sometimes a body reset and a recharge. And yeah, I think people are very like empathetic towards that and understanding.
Definitely. It's been so interesting.
Loved
Thank
it.
you for being so open and honest. On our podcast, we have a closing tradition as well to ask all of our guests the same question. And that is, if you could implement one rule for everyone in the world to follow, men and women, what would it be and why?
God.
Just a small question.
Okay. Live a life that is true to yourself and not something that you think is the right thing to do or you've been conditioned to do. Like if something doesn't feel right, or you're just following the pattern or the norm from home because you know your friend's having a baby or your friend's getting married and you just want the ring on your finger, do you really want it? Like, are you sure? Like, follow a life that is for you, not for everyone else.
Yeah, love that one.
Yeah,
I think that's actually, we haven't had that, and that's actually so true. Like, you need to live for you, basically.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I've done everything against the rule, because they call it, and against the norm. And I love my life, and I wouldn't look back and be like, oh God, you know, I'm miserable, I'm in a loveless marriage and everything else.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Live your life how you want to live it, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much. It's been a vibe.
Thanks, guys.